The distance, the struggles that Opus faces. My wife and I have been married for 12 years, have 3 children together who are ages 11, 9, and 6, and I am significantly older than her. I am 50 and she is 34. We also maintain a healthy lifestyle and look excellent for our ages. I try my hardest to make her feel special by cooking, cleaning, doing the dishes, giving her back rubs, buying her favorite turtles, and other kind, caring gestures. She is the complete opposite. I'm lucky if I get a kiss from her once a month, unless it's a short kiss goodbye as she heads off to work. She isn't at all affectionate, but I've come to terms with it having known it in the past. She just is that way. Our physical well-being is excellent. Until recently, we continued to bond 2 or 3 times a week. Nothing wrong there. In the past 5 months, we've had some difficult times, arguments and all, which I will go into more detail about later. A few weeks prior, I walked in the door beaming with happiness at seeing her. She turns her head away from me when I try to kiss her. I attempted to kiss her again, but she simply retreated. This is nothing new for her. However, unlike the previous times she was occupied with something, this time she was merely standing there. I shut down because that wounded me so much on the inside. I started acting the way she treats me, and I stopped paying attention to her. In response, she became really acerbic with me. No more in-depth talks, further distancing, etc. At last, I broke up with her. After 3 days, she said, "What now? You don't even want to talk to me." I asked her why she was treating me so poorly, making it seem like we were roommates rather than husband and wife. I also told her that she needed to see a psychiatrist because she had been abused by her stepdad before we were married, and I didn't get a positive response. Let's work this out. She completely cut herself apart from me. We resemble roommates, don't we? She stated she needs to figure out why she treats me so poorly a few days later, that she no longer has faith in me, that in order to come to terms with who she is, she needed some alone time. If she couldn't deal with it all, she mentioned that perhaps we ought to consider a divorce. In essence, she remarked, "I need to discover who I am. You must go now." And now, 3 days later, I'm visiting a friend's home, allowing her to choose her own path. She did not provide me with a return date. She has a problem with me. She no longer has faith in me. My mom gave me $30,000 for the kids' college fund and $5,000 to help with the cost of the house's new roof after we helped build it. Even though I knew the money was not going to benefit us, I never told her about it. I put $5,000 into our joint savings account, and she periodically checks it online. Not that I hid it by putting it beneath the mattress. She has a checking account in her name exclusively, so whatever. I really didn't think it was a huge problem. A few years ago, I created my own savings account, which enraged me, so I closed it to appease her. Every month, I deposit money into our safe, and I recently had to take out $2,000 to cover a disastrous stock trade. She then demanded to know the precise amount I spend each month as well as the destination of the remaining funds. She has repeatedly told me that she is not interested in investing or the process after I gave her all the information. She informed me she was sick of me notifying the waiter when I ordered her meal. What is the waitress eating? My mouth is mine. I am able to place my own orders. To me, the man should just be kind enough to give an order. At the bar, I give her a beverage, and she reacts the same way as before. I'm absolutely guilty of walking in front of her rather than with her on many occasions. You leave when I believe you're behind me. You're also guilty of that. She'll ask, "Where did you go?" When I back off if I see something I want. I mistook you for someone else. She said she wanted some time to herself to come to terms with the fact that she thought of me as her father. I don't think of myself as someone who is in charge. Perhaps she does. Her other complaint about me is that, as I've already mentioned, I'm a devoted, trustworthy husband who would never purposefully injure her. In our marriage, I've erred twice. One was when I went to the pub to order a beer on my birthday 8 years ago. I stepped up to the bar, told them it was my birthday, and placed my beer order. The girl next to me whispered happy birthday, blew me a short kiss, very quick, and turned to leave. My spouse was furious. She said I was sucking her face, and she's never let me forget that. False. On New Year's Eve 2 years ago, we went out with a few pals. I don't usually drink strong liquor, but for some reason that evening, I started taking shots. I spent roughly 2 hours there, after which I can't recall anything. Complete darkness. My companion informed me that I had kissed the bartender on the cheek around midnight. Then I got a punch in the face from my wife. I don't remember any of this, as I mentioned before, and I promise not to get so inebriated ever again. She has also never let me move on from that. The exciting part is here. We've always worked together on everything. In general, we get along well. Our physical life is wonderful, as I mentioned. Her pal was terribly depressed after breaking up with her partner around a year and a half ago. To lift her spirits, my spouse promised to accompany her out. She began going out to bars on a regular basis, while I stayed home with the children. I'm not at all jealous, but I started to become anxious. She herself will attest to that, particularly after she didn't get home until 4 after she and her sister attended a party at a man's place who urged them to stay after the bars closed. 30 in the morning. He and she became Facebook friends in the end. To her credit, I don't believe she ever got in touch with him. She sits me down one day after we've been doing this for about 5 weeks and asks, "Would you mind if I slept with other guys?" It is merely a physical object. It has no significance. I questioned her about her plan of action. She added, "I'll just get a guy's number and go over to his house and sleep with him whenever the urge strikes, maybe once a month." Not even the slightest emotional connection. That is a one-time event only. I asked her if I was able to follow suit. "No," she replied. "You would become overly sentimental and bond with the girl." I died, man, because of that. It felt as though someone had torn out and trampled on my heart. It never occurred to me that she would have preferred a different man. It was never apparent that she desired one. It took her 4 days of crying and a visit to the psychologist to comprehend how much it wounded me, and she said she was simply seeing how I would respond. It's not like she ever desired anyone else. After around 2 months of pain, I recovered. Everything was going smoothly. Part 1 of Round 2. 3 English soccer coaches spent a week at our place in July of last year. She fell head over heels in love with one of the males who caught her eye. She attempted to alter her work schedule in order to work from home, skip days of sleep when working the night shift, etc. One night, she took them to the pub. I was really disappointed when I arrived at midnight, right as she was getting intimate with a gentleman. Her attention to him in a single week was greater than what I receive in a whole year, and it really pained me. Then she resumed her pub visits, this time accompanied by a few pals from the area. She was having fun and dirty dancing while going out once or twice a week and returning home late. She and a friend traveled to Colombia for a 3-day conference towards the end of September. I hired a private investigator to follow her the second night she was there. At approximately 6 o'clock in the evening, I gave her a call and inquired as to her plan of action. She announced that she was going shopping, dining out, spending a few more minutes at the hotel bar, and then retiring to bed. The detective was doing exactly what she had promised to do when she trailed them to Kohl's and dinner. I felt content. I told the detective to go home and canceled his assignment since I trusted my wife. Then, because I was heading to bed, I called my wife at about 9 o'clock. "Not much is happening here," she added, "just enjoying a few beers before calling it a night. I cherish you." I was really pleased, man. It means a lot to her when she says it, as she doesn't say it very often. After about 30 minutes of conversation, she remarked, "I love you again," and hung up. 12. I told the investigator, "What are you doing calling me? I called you off when the phone rang at 30 in the morning. I've been doing this for a long time, so I know how it ends," he remarked. It seems that she went downtown with her friend and picked up a few males. Later on, I discovered that these guys were, in fact, lodging at the same hotel, that they were intoxicated, and that they needed a transport home. The investigator gave me the play-by-play. My wife, her friend, and the other man went to my wife's room, while the gentleman her friend was with returned to his room. She and her companion shared a room. He shared a room with his. After using the restroom, he went to his room with my wife. I was going crazy. After 10 or so minutes, I called her room again. When I called, I wish I could have seen her friend's expression. My wife stammered and said she was in the bathroom when I asked to talk to her. "All right, hand her the phone. I'll have her phone you when she gets out since I can't." My wife called me back after she had left. I concocted a lie about having a bad dream. "I'm in bed and ready to go to sleep, so don't worry. I'll give you a call tomorrow." I contacted her again after waiting for 15 more minutes because I could take it no more. I informed her that she had been nabbed by a detective who had been pursuing her. Claimantly, she said that the other gentleman must have gone to the wrong room. He made sure she really was with the guy. After hanging up, she contacted me to say that our bonding was lacking. They were only talking, she told me. She wanted to stay up a little bit later because she wasn't exhausted yet. It goes without saying that I wasn't pleased. We had a heated argument when she got home the following day, but we eventually got back together. I really wanted to think that she was being honest. Section 3. I was depressed for around a month before I moved past it. We dressed up, went dancing, and had the best time ever one Halloween night. I told her it reminded me of our dating days since it was that good. Had not enjoyed myself that much in years. She got me a card a week or so later, telling me how unique I was and how much she loved me. I felt terrific because she had never done this in our whole marriage. Then, we went out to celebrate her birthday in December and had a great time. Could she dance with other guys? She inquired. I replied, "No problem. I'm not a jealous guy, like I claimed." While dancing together, she struck up a conversation with a single man. The next thing I knew, she was feeling him up on the dance floor and had her hands all over the boys. I felt let down. Later on, she told me that's how she's always danced. There's no deeper meaning to her liking of dirty dance. All of this occurred in less than 4 months, and I began to experience good and bad days. She was unable to comprehend why I was acting in this way. We would have a divorce if I followed her lead. We really do have a connection with a double standard. For instance, a few weeks back, we went to Walmart, and I was in the checkout line. The girl behind the register was the reason she snuck off. We started talking about work and the weather. She wasn't pretty at all. She was married, overweight, and pregnant. My spouse approaches from behind and remarks, "You didn't realize I was following you, did you?" She glared at me and turned to go. After a week, we went shopping once more. I requested to borrow the advertisement to compensate the checkout girl. All I said was, "May I take the Aldi advertisement? I'll bring it back right away." My wife became enraged and instructed me to acquire a card of my own. I was done. I turned to leave, got in my car, and drove home. It was more than I could handle. When she called, I went to get her. That marked the commencement of this story's narrative. The union is not entirely insolvent. She was incredibly nice to me before we had our big falling out. I simply couldn't stop getting flashbacks and getting upset, which would lead to a lot of conflict. We could have a terrific time together, and I would be good for a few weeks. Then we would argue over anything that brought up the old memories. We would both get back on track if I could just get over this. Having said that, I'm not sure, and perhaps I'm not interested in learning. I asked a common friend with whom she goes out to bars if she would ever harm me again, and she replied that although she enjoys dirty dancing, she has never asked for a man's phone number or started acting flirtatious around him. Not after the incident at the hotel, anyway. She understands my wife's shortcomings, so I trust her buddy. It's only a phase I went through, my wife stated. But she never expressed regret. I informed her that you went through a phase both this summer and previous summer, and the year after that, and the year after that. She did not respond to the query. Comments: in light of the current circumstances, your post reads like a never-ending catalog of instances of past infidelity that you approved of, encouraged, or even helped, after which you would cry for months and then take no action. Your union is more than a moment in time. These events all occur in established behavioral patterns. I take it you're a parent. Does it really matter, as a parent, if you treat your 11-year-old differently in year 11 after treating them the same way for the first 10? Your child's and your relationship's development has been influenced by the last 10 years. After your wife cheats, you give her back rubs and she stays away from you. Your wife is repeatedly put in situations that are blatantly wrong, and she is taught that she can cheat, so you will console her and cry with her. In order to party with your wife, several males are staying at your place. She's having a wild time on her own. It can often be interpreted as a sign that a man doesn't mind sharing his wife when he claims he's not the jealous kind and doesn't mind if she goes out with other men. Weeping about it won't make your wife tell you that she wants to sleep with other men. Guys who genuinely have no cause to feel envious of other guys know that their wives won't dare do it unless they want to be shown the door, so they don't need to worry about it. I would be at a loss as to where to begin. You've demonstrated to your spouse that it's acceptable for her to cheat for years. These small errors of yours are just guilt trips. Opus replies, I spoke with her earlier today and told her that I won't be leaving the house, pointing out how little she respected me, etc. I asked her if she was prepared for a divorce. Since I am, I don't want a divorce, she stated. She added that she no longer feels anything for me. She finally lost it because of all the small things I had done incorrectly in the past. 1. She is not financially dependent on me. She is a successful businesswoman. 2. I can't prove she has cheated on me unless I get tangible evidence. Though I don't have any tangible evidence, the indicators are there. The closest I've been was with the hotel situation, but I was so upset that I messed up and contacted her before anything could happen. I should have just let it go and asked the PI to pose as hotel security and see whether everything was well. I would then have had tangible evidence. 3. Why is it that everyone in these forums believes that if a spouse is caught having an affair, it can be resolved with a lot of effort, but my case is hopeless? 4. How does her behavior on the dance floor differ from that of guys who go out to bars and enjoy themselves a little? I'm curious how that compares, not that I've done it without my wife. To add to this, she only went out twice. I don't know if this will alter anyone's perceptions. We spent the last 10 years together at all times. She was fine with me being a stay-at-home parent for a while. Had I wished to, I could have remained one. She has never, ever arrived home late from work. 2 summers ago, for approximately 5 weeks, she stopped going out and started staying home after a friend from work moved away. We have 3 younger children, so I can say with certainty that she would never leave them home alone. She is an amazing mother, and she adores her children. 2. She spent approximately 5 weeks traveling with a few new pals throughout the summer of last year. Ever since the event at the hotel, she has never left my side. This is the most recent. We spoke for more than an hour last night. The dialogue was somewhat abrasive at first, and I would raise my voice in frustration. I basically told her what type of wife you are, how disrespectful you have been to me, and other things. She essentially said that throughout the years, all of this little garbage that I've done has accumulated. She now wants a divorce after having a change of heart. I no longer love you. She insisted there had never been any infidelity on her part. She also stated she would be pleased to take a polygraph test to disprove me when I told her I was going to sign her up for one. Tell me the day, please. But as you may know, women harbor resentment. They object to something you do. They'll also recall. She displayed a list of the 10 or so things about me that had truly irritated her, had informed me of, and I never took any action in response. It did, though not right away. She claimed to have harbored a great deal of animosity toward me. Most males just let things go and don't worry about the little things. Clearly, she is unable to. I suppose that at this point, none of this is relevant. We both felt that getting a divorce is the best course of action right now. It's strange, in that moment when we both nodded, I sensed her acceptance. I suppose I've accepted that this is the end. How would the kids react? I asked her. They would be all right, she assured them. She mentioned that she had already had a little pre-talk with them. What's very peculiar, you know. Then we began talking about the terms of the divorce. For the first time in weeks, we were more attuned to one another and more cordial. Absolutely no resentment. All she wants is 50/50 split custody, and a small amount of money to get her started. About 10, or a down payment on a home, is my estimate. All she wanted for was that. Our valued house is mine to keep, valued at $250,000. Since we will always be in one another's presence because of the kids, she stated she didn't want us to stop being resentful and hostile to one another. She may have made a terrible spouse, but she is an incredible mother. All right, let's go on. However, things are a little depressing right now. I was so blind, man. He kept his face fixed on mine the entire time. I simply didn't want to acknowledge it. She told me a few more things that I was refusing to believe. About 6 months ago, I asked her, while we were drinking, what she would do if I cheated on her. I would forgive you, she said. It's funny because she had said 2 years prior that if I ever discovered you cheating, I would leave. 180 in total. When we were discussing bonding at a pub 3 months ago, she asked how someone could sleep with the same person for 10 years. She claimed to be joking after I badgered her about it for a few days. During our conversation regarding our marital status, my friend related to me the tale of his aunt. After cheating on her first spouse for 12 years of their 12-year marriage, they were divorced. She cheated on her second spouse, with whom she was married for 7 years. They also got divorced. Since then, she has been in 5 relationships. And each time she ends up cheating, she leaves a trail of devastation in her wake, and she is unfazed by it. I'm so terrified of being alone, my wife has stated to me a few times. I'll never get why she doesn't believe that what she's doing is making her alone. I hope she doesn't become the aunt of my friend. No other guy exists. She likes single nightstands. Compared to the majority of my guy pals, she thinks like a guy. She advised me to spend the Super Bowl weekend hanging out with my pal at his house. I told her that I work 85 miles from home. I'll be back on Monday, no problem. I had to go back home because I was unable to contact my pal until late. Didn't let her know I would be returning. A motel room a few kilometers away from the residence was obtained. I returned home to retrieve some items that I had forgotten. It was a little after 10 o'clock. Her automobile wasn't there when I arrived home. Once more, here we go, I thought. I visited the pub where we frequently go to dance. It was her automobile. This bar usually has a good amount of attractive males. To gain a clear view of the entrance without drawing attention to myself, I parked my automobile. She lingered till it closed. Given that I was meant to be away, I knew she would have a great time. She surprised me by leaving the pub by herself and taking a car home. Installed a VAR in her automobile the 3rd week of March, 1 month later. She says, I'm good if all he knows about are Kenny and Sean. Possesses a long list of men she is dating, sorting them according to their level of beauty. Divorce on April 17th. We were a wonderful family, not lamenting the loss of her marriage, husband, and children. She doesn't have any regret, anguish, or guilt. She was eager to begin dining and sleeping with other men, not even able to wait for the divorce to be finalized. Query, how could you do this when you knew, deep down, that it would ruin your own kids? How could someone give up their own kids so they may extend their legs for someone else? While I and the kids try to pick up the pieces, she is having the time of her life and sleeping with other males. I'm hurting so much, man, now that reality has set in. Together, we completed every task. We were a wonderful pair, and even her friends expressed their disbelief that we are divorcing. I have spent the last month crying on a daily basis, unable to move on from it. I know it's crazy, but I genuinely loved her and can't stop thinking about her. All I can think about is it. In my own home, I feel like a zombie. I'm no longer interested in anything. What's not clear to me? First, she pulled away from the frame without include anyone else. Second, she was opposed to attending MC, said in the event that she tells me something unwelcome, I'm going to ignore her. She had absolutely no desire to improve our marriage. 3. A few occasions in January. She kissed me at the beginning of February. Later claimed, I never kissed you. After referring to me as honey a few times, she denied it. You're forcing yourself to be distant, I told her. 4. Why on earth did she feel the need to destroy every photo we had of each other that was on display in the home? 5. She's never looked happier to me than she does now because she has so many different guys. Will this continue? She has been saying, this is why we are getting divorced and this is why we are getting divorced, every time we have spoken in the previous few months. It's always something different. The last time it happened, I instructed her to go to the shop and grab some groceries and a phone card. This is the reason behind our divorce. You want something from me all the time. I texted her back and said, are you going to divorce him too? In response to her new husband's request that you fetch him anything from Walmart. I got along well with her folks. We would spend around 4 months a year together. Their distance is 100 miles. I drove to my STBX's parents' place 7 weeks ago while we were discussing a divorce. Her stepdad was present, but her mother was not. I only mentioned to him that my STBX desired a divorce, and that was about all I told him. He claimed to have heard, but he was unaware of specifics. My sister, who is STBX, is well informed. They are rather near. Her mother is also unlikely to be aware of any specifics. She texted me just to dodge and let it go after learning that I had spoken to her stepdad for a short while. I'm sick and weary of you bringing up matters concerning our split. Simply move forward. You only perceive the world through your own lens. And please, just leave my family alone. Nobody seems to care. What you have to say is irrelevant to them. I choose what I want to do. To clear the air, I truly want to speak with her parents. We got divorced in April of this year, which was 6 months later. I was unaware of cluster B personality disorders until I started looking for explanations for my ex-partner's actions towards me. Common characteristics appear to be linked to BPD. While my ex does display some of these traits, she differs greatly from the typical BPD person in many aspects. Her history: when she was 2 years old, her parents got divorced. In a sense, he cast her aside. I only met him twice in the 12 years that we were together. She never converses with him. For a proxy, at age 5, my ex was molested by her stepdad, and her mother remarried. Half a year. This is what I believe most disturbed her. Her mother didn't accept her account. Rather, she trusted her spouse. After a year of living with her grandmother, she returned home. She claimed that he never again mistreated her. She isn't close to him, but they get along now. Nor is she close to her mother. She had been seeing the same man since she was 12, married him at 19, and was divorced 9 months later. Had her lover move in with her immediately after the divorce was finalized. I met her 4 months later. After 9 months, we were married. 1. That she had cheated on her first husband both before and after their brief marriage, which we discovered during our divorce. She said that even though it was the correct decision, I realized after dating other men that I shouldn't have been married. 2. She continued to tell me the same thing about her roommate who used to leave for work at night. I used to go to bars, pick up guys, take them home, and have sleepovers. She said I lied when I told her she had told me she had never cheated. 3. Our marriage lasted 12 years. She began going out to bars when she turned 10 years old. 5 weeks later, he asked, "Do you mind if I have sleep with other men?" One day. It's purely a physical act. There are no emotional connections at all. 4. She also asked me, how is it possible for someone to sleep with the same person for 10 years? She had a lot of control. I was only allowed to go out with my pals in her company. She declared herself to be untrusting. There is no such thing as love, she once informed me. When we were 10 years old, she began to cheat on me. Halted for 9 months before picking back up. Halted until our divorce was finalized, at which point she had 14 different boyfriends in 4 months. In addition, she is not empathetic, quite envious, never acknowledged that she was in error. I once asked her if she had ever made a mistake in our whole marriage. She never gave me a particularly loving response, as far as I can recall. All of the information she ever gave me about her past was a massive falsehood. She gains control and strength through bonding. She mentioned several times that her greatest fear is being by herself. She claims she has no faith in anyone. Here are the reasons I believe she differs from the average person with BPD. 1. She was consistently very trustworthy and responsible. She was practically the ideal wife for the first 10 years. We did everything together, got along well, and rarely got into arguments. 2. We had a wonderful physical life. She never, ever denied someone a bonding experience. 3. Her mother was wonderful. She was incredibly self-centered throughout the summer following the divorce. Priorities: her needs, kids' needs. However, once classes have resumed, she has reverted to her previous role as a loving mother. Make sure your children who play sports complete their assignments and other schoolwork on time. Well, anything. We both have joint custody. 4. She doesn't ever bug me. Since the kids are involved, she ensures that we get along. 5. She doesn't call unless it's regarding the children. Keeps my private life private. Never gets in the way. Unquestionably not a Hoover. 6. She never made fun of me. She never acted rashly or furiously. Still isn't. Never in any manner discouraged me. 7. She is always courteous when I have to speak with her on the phone because of the children. Always ready to accommodate me when there are scheduling difficulties. Since our split, I have never had any issues with her. She never mentioned her first spouse again until I brought him up after she got divorced. Her live-in boyfriend is the same. Most likely the same with me. She has the amazing capacity to go forward and never look back. Thus, I would like to know if she is suffering from cluster B personality disorder. She has a lot of the characteristics, but from what I've read, she also lacks several of the key characteristics linked to this illness. She believes she is problem-free and would never, ever go. Since there are 3 younger children involved, I'm curious about the impact her behavior will have on them. When my 9-year-old turns to face his mother and says, "You should get that for all your boyfriends," after spotting a belly button ring at the mall that says, "Do me," I guess you could say I'm a little worried. My oldest son and I had a lengthy conversation yesterday. He obviously loves his mother, but based on our chat, I believe she does not feel the same way about the children. I don't know if she loves us that much, he said. She texts on her phone for the entirety of each day, minute by minute. Without a boyfriend, she is not content. If your dad gets exclusive custody, that doesn't bother me. She leaves us alone when she sneaks out of the house at night. When we beg her to cease smoking in the car, she responds, "Don't tell me what to do." She has always been, in my opinion, extremely selfish, at the very least. Her needs have always come first, and it appears that this will always be the case. Based on our talk, she has completely changed from the person she was when we were a family. Some of the things he told me startled me. She presents herself as a caring mother and a responsible mom. I believe Uptown is right when she says she will turn against them as they age and become more aware of reality. My comment is that, despite his initial weakness, I kind of like this opus. He truly took other people's advice to heart and acknowledged that this individual had the potential to permanently destroy their family, which is why I like him. Although taking the initial step can be challenging, it is worthwhile.